Compassion is not a behavior. It's not something we do in the first instance. It's a core part of our evolution, of the evolution of life. And beauty, it's not something we can pretend. Although learning about compassion gives us a kind of signpost of where we want to be. Compassion is very much all about the area of separation, where we seem to be separate. The word, the prefix com is together, two. So in a way it's being together in passion, in a passion. And passion is one of those beautiful words which is really at the third point of a polarity, because it also means suffering. It also means the pure force of life. It also means suffering. In that beautiful word passion, suffering and pure life become one. In a way, the whole area of compassion is needed because of the nature of interbeing. That we are anyway affected, each one by the other, caused by the other, interwoven with the other. However we might draw the map in our minds of what is ourself and what is the other, even if we are able to block the other in the level of feeling, anyway we are affected. It's affecting us. In the whole dimension of the heart and the dimension of instinct and emotions. But like all good things, compassion of itself needs a backdrop, it needs a support from behind or beneath. And here we move into the area of empathy. Which in a way is a backdrop to compassion. Again, it's not something which can be assumed that we just decide to be empathic. It's a signpost. It's a process. When, in the world of form, we are broken, parts of ourselves are wounded, or in a way when we can't contain a suffering or a pain or change, there is a breakage of form. And as we spoke about before, we move back to this whole area of emptiness. In a way, what's happening is we suffer more than it's possible to suffer, to the extent that suffering itself is almost boring. It's too much. It's not. It's enough already. And there's this movement of surrender. Just take me. It's like we reach the border of what the self can suffer, and also that breaks. And there's a real deep letting go. Kill me. I'm ready to die in it. In this moment, in this breakage, the self collapses and the ego collapses. The beliefs are released. And what was a private, individual suffering or agony or despair is no longer private and individual. It's a whole shared pool. It's a whole shared pool of suffering. It's the suffering of humanity or creation, or the area which is the despair of being here. And when this, it actually, in the experience, when the individual suffering becomes the collective suffering, it's already better a little bit.
It's already what?
A little bit better. Something is happening there. It's very, 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 very good to release the self, to release the private factor, the ego factor, the story. And in allowing this shared suffering, and I'm talking generally, but it can also be with a specific direction, isolation, loneliness, grief. It can have its theme. But in allowing it, we begin to move into empathy. Within the emptiness, it's not for nothing, it has the same prefix. Empathy is emerging. Meaning the pain or the struggle or the despair of the other is allowed, as it is also one and the same, your pain and despair and struggle. It's not repressed. It's open. We can truly say, I am here in this pit of the suffering. And being here, awake in the suffering, is already having an effect on the suffering. Something begins to move because it's allowed. And there's something that begins to move, is coming out of originally a tiny grain, and it's hard to give a name to this grain. There's something there in the emptiness of it, which you could call it hope, or the command live. Some kind of quantum grain is there. Life, seed of life. And within this is a passion. A passion to be of service. A passion born of the shared suffering. This passion begins to rise as we begin to take form again, like a plant breaking through after a forest fire. Form begins to emerge very much according to the will of this passion to be of service. This passion is making sense of all the horror that has been, because it's possible to be of service to the other because of it, because of the despair, because we are also open-eyed there, because we are here for each other. And the passion rises through our form, through the male or the female, the mother or the daughter, or whatever it is form we have. Through our qualities, the qualities we have with us. And this is the force out of which compassion is born of itself. And again, compassion is being in passion together. So out of the unity of empathy, we emerge into form, and even though the unity is still there, there is also togetherness, interbeing. The beauty of this is that one form, each form, different as they are, can truly be of service to the other forms. One might be blind, the other might be deaf. My form can be of service to your form. It doesn't mean there's a superiority or an inferiority. Your form can be of service to my form. In our lifetimes, sometimes we're in our strength and self-sufficient and happy, and sometimes we are really in need and helpless. Firstly, we're born that way. Every baby is born with an inherent helplessness. Most of us die that way, in helplessness. So there is a constant interplay of compassion where we support each other, we carry each other. In many, many, many ways through this web of interbeing. It's not just physical. It's also energetic. As this rises, it emerges through the silence as wisdom. Which takes form through understanding, application, structure. Form an organization called Aware, for example. And in this way, we're evolving together. There are cycles.